Imagine sitting across from someone you once rocked to sleep, the little girl whose nightmares you used to chase away, and hearing her say, without hesitation, that she wants you to sell your dead mother's house to pay for her dream wedding. That's where I was, across the table from the person I loved most in this world. My baby sister. The one I practically raised. Listening to her calmly demand $50,000, like she was asking for a cup of sugar. What she didn't know was that by the time that dinner ended, I would have proof, real, undeniable proof of how far she'd gone. And one day soon, that proof would play out in front of her entire world. If you've ever been betrayed by your own blood, used, drained, or treated like an ATM instead of a person, you already understand the ache sitting behind every word I'm about to say. Tap that like button of your heart if you've ever stood alone against manipulative relatives, because this story is for you. It's about standing your ground when the people you love most forget that love isn't measured in dollars. My name is Judith. I'm 38, and I've spent my entire life being the big sister, the caretaker, the problem solver, the built-in parent. From the day Emma could walk, I was the one tying her shoes, braiding her hair, and wiping away her tears. When she fell from her bike, she came running to me, not Mom. When thunder shook the windows, it was my bed she crawled into. Every county fair, every late-night fever, every scraped knee. She was mine before she was anyone's. I was 10 years old learning to soothe a crying toddler while our mother worked double shifts. By the time I graduated high school, raising Emma was less a responsibility and more a rhythm I didn't know how to stop. So when Mom got sick, really sick, taking care of her felt like breathing. Chemotherapy, oxygen tanks, the endless doctor appointments, I handled it all. I took time off work, sorted prescriptions, cleaned her room, held her hand through every long night of pain. Emma showed up when she felt like it. Glamorous lunches, weekend getaways, new boyfriends. She always had something important to do. When Mom finally passed after 2 brutal months in hospice care, the house came to me. It wasn't flashy or enormous. Just a cozy 3-bedroom cottage with creaky floors and the smell of lavender that clung to the curtains. But the walls held every memory of our childhood. The corner of the kitchen still had faint pencil marks where Mom measured us each birthday. Emma's height always a few inches beneath mine, her name written in Mom's careful handwriting. It wasn't just a house. It was everything that remained of her. 2 weeks after the funeral, Emma called. "Lunch?" she said brightly, like nothing had happened. When she arrived, she looked polished and expensive. Flawless makeup, a designer bag draped on her arm. And trailing behind her was Marcus, her fiancé. Marcus was one of those men who smiled like his teeth needed witnesses, the kind whose handshake squeezed just a bit too long, trying to control the room. "Judith," Emma began, sliding into the booth with that honeyed tone she used whenever she wanted something. "We need to talk about Mom's house." I already knew. My gut told me before her lips even moved. She launched straight into it. "Marcus and I have found the perfect venue for the wedding. It's everything we've dreamed of, but it's pricey. $50,000, give or take." She said it so casually, like announcing she'd bought a new coat. "That's a lot of money," I said carefully. "Which is why," she continued, leaning forward, "we need you to sell Mom's house and split the money with me. It's only fair, don't you think? We're both her daughters." Fair. I almost laughed at the word. I'd spent my entire adult life being the fair one, working 2 jobs to cover Mom's medical bills, paying Emma's rent when she got fired again, wiring money for car repairs she couldn't afford. While she posted pictures online of cocktails and weekend trips, I was eating canned soup under fluorescent hospital lights. "Emma," I said slowly, "I offered $10,000 as a wedding gift. That's all I can spare without selling the house." Marcus interrupted immediately, smirking like he'd been waiting for his line. "10,000? That's nothing compared to what the house is worth. Be reasonable, Judith." The way he said my name, like I was the difficult one, made something twist inside me. Emma's polite smile faltered, revealing what was underneath. "Some sister you are," she muttered. I didn't reply. I couldn't, because sitting across from her, I saw something I never wanted to admit. The little girl who once clung to me at bedtime was gone. In her place was a stranger who thought of family as a business transaction. That night, I sat in Mom's living room surrounded by the echoes of our life together. The teacup she'd never washed. A magazine folded open to her favorite puzzle, the faint scent of her perfume still in the air. I traced my fingers over those pencil marks on the wall. Mine, then Emma's. A story measured in inches and broken promises. For the first time, I cried not just for Mom, but for the sister I'd lost long before she asked for money. A week went by. The silence between us stretched until one evening my phone lit up again. It was Emma. Her voice sounded small, almost girlish. "Judith, I'm so sorry for how I acted at lunch," she said. "I'm just stressed with wedding planning. You know how it is. Can we start over? Let me take you out for your birthday, just family. Dinner at that Italian place downtown. It'll be nice." I wanted to believe her. I wanted, just for one night, to believe the sister I'd raised remembered how to be kind. Jim, my husband, didn't trust it. "Something's off," he said while I got ready. Emma never does anything without an angle, but I ignored him. Hope is a stubborn habit. When we arrived at the restaurant, everything looked too polished. Candlelight flickered off wine glasses. Soft jazz hummed through the air. And in the corner, I noticed 3 men in crisp suits at a table near ours. No food, just briefcases. Their eyes kept darting toward us every few minutes. A cold tremor ran through me. We sat down. Emma was all warmth and conversation, full of compliments and practiced laughter. She leaned in during appetizers, smiling like nothing bad had ever passed between us, asking about work, about my garden, about the necklace Mom used to wear. For a few fleeting seconds, I wanted to believe her act. But the nervous glance she threw toward those men told me everything I needed to know. Emma was all smiles and small talk during appetizers, asking about my job and complimenting my dress. But I could feel the tension underneath, like waiting for a storm to hit. Then, just as our main courses arrived, Marcus pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table to me. "We had our lawyer draw up some paperwork," he said, his charming smile never wavering. "It's a trust document that would let us manage Mom's estate together. You know, make things easier for everyone." I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a legal document that would essentially sign over Mom's house and all her assets to Emma and Marcus. The language was complicated, but the meaning was clear. They wanted everything. "This isn't what you said," I whispered. "You said this was a birthday dinner." "It is," Emma said, her voice getting sharper. "And this is your birthday present. The chance to do the right thing for your sister." That's when Jim quietly reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small digital recorder. He set it on the table between us, and the little red light started blinking. "What's that?" Marcus demanded. "Insurance?" Jim said calmly. "Because what you're doing right now is called coercion. Fraud. Elderly abuse. Well, not elderly, but you get the idea." The change in the room was immediate. Emma's face went pale. Marcus's jaw clenched so tight, I could see the muscles working. The 3 lawyers at the nearby table suddenly found their phones very interesting and started packing up their briefcases. "You can't record us without permission," Emma hissed. "Actually," Jim said, "this is a one-party consent state." And Judith consented to recording this conversation to protect herself from exactly this kind of manipulation. I watched my baby sister's mask completely fall away. The sweet apologetic Emma from the phone call was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Someone who'd been willing to trick me, pressure me, and steal from to get what she wanted. We left their restaurant without signing anything. The lawyers scattered like roaches when the lights came on. And I went home knowing that the sister I'd loved my whole life had tried to rob me blind. But that wasn't the end of it. 2 weeks later, Jim and I were driving past the community center when I saw cars lined up outside and string lights twinkling in the windows. Emma's engagement party, the one I hadn't been invited to. "Pull over," I told Jim. "Judith, what are you doing?" Something I should have done years ago. I walked into that party carrying the digital recorder in my purse. Emma was in the center of the room wearing a flowing white dress, laughing and accepting congratulations. Marcus was beside her playing the perfect fiancé for their audience of friends and family members. The party was beautiful. Fairy lights hung from the ceiling. There were flowers everywhere and a table full of expensive catering. It was exactly the kind of event Emma had always dreamed of. Elegant, Instagrammable, and funded by someone else's money. When the toast began, People started clinking their glasses and sharing sweet stories about Emma and Marcus. Relatives talked about what a perfect couple they made. Friends gushed about their love story. That's when I stood up. "I wasn't planning to speak tonight," I said, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. "But I can't stand here and watch this celebration knowing what I know." Emma's smile froze on her face. Marcus went rigid beside her. "2 weeks ago," I continued, "I was invited to what I thought was a birthday dinner. Instead, I was ambushed by lawyers and pressured to sign away my mother's house. My baby sister tried to steal my inheritance to pay for this party." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. Emma's face went from pale to red. I pulled out the recorder and pressed play. Emma's voice filled the room, sharp and demanding. "Just sign the papers, Judith split the money. It's only fair." Marcus's voice followed, cold and calculated. 10,000 is nothing. Don't be selfish." The recording played for what felt like forever, but was probably only 30 seconds. When it stopped, the silence was deafening. I looked around the room at friends and family members who were suddenly seeing Emma and Marcus in a completely different light. The perfect couple image was cracking like cheap paint. "This ends tonight," I said, setting the recorder on the gift table. "No more using family as a weapon. No more pretending love is something you can buy or steal." Emma's eyes were darting around the room like a trapped animal. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I walked out of that party with my head held high. Behind me, I could hear the murmur of shocked conversations starting up, the sound of people questioning everything they thought they knew about the happy couple. The aftermath was swift and brutal. By the next morning, half of Emma's wedding guests had canned. Marcus's parents, who had been planning to contribute to the wedding costs, pulled their financial support entirely. Several family members called me to apologize for believing Emma's version of events and to express their shock at what she'd tried to do. Emma called me crying 3 days later, begging me to fix this and tell everyone the recording was fake. But I was done being her cleanup crew. I was done sacrificing my peace of mind for someone who saw me as nothing more than a source of money. The wedding was postponed indefinitely. Emma and Marcus's relationship didn't survive the scandal. Turns out Marcus was only interested in Emma when she came with a substantial inheritance attached. As for me, I stayed at Mom's house. I turned her sewing room into a home office and her garden into a place where I can sit and remember the good times. The house still smells like lavender, and I still find her reading glasses in random places, but now it feels like home, instead of a museum. Looking back, I realize I spent so many years trying to be the perfect big sister that I forgot to protect myself. Sometimes the people we love most are the ones who hurt us deepest because they know exactly how to use our love against us. But there comes a point when you have to choose between being taken advantage of and standing up for yourself. If this story resonated with you, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about people who finally stood up to toxic family members. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the most shocking thing a family member has ever tried to pull on you? And remember, just because someone is family doesn't mean they get to treat you like a doormat. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set firm boundaries. Until next time, keep standing up for